Welcome to Grief is the New Normal. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, a licensed psychologist and grief specialist, here to help change the conversation about grief and build community and connection while we all adjust to this new normal we are living in. This podcast is for you if you are grieving or if you are supporting someone in a season of grief. I'm glad you're here. Hey friends, welcome back to Grief is the New Normal. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, a licensed psychologist and grief specialist. And today we're returning to a topic that clearly struck a nerve with a lot of you listeners: grief and the workplace. Because if there's one thing I hear over and over from my clients, and honestly from so many of you in the DMs, it's this: I had to go back to work like nothing happened, or no one acknowledged what I was going through, or even worse, they expected me to be back at 100% in a week. And let me tell you, the system is broken. The expectations are unrealistic, and the emotional labor that grievers are forced to carry in professional spaces, it's costing us big time. So today we're unpacking why the workplace still doesn't understand grief, the invisible cost of performing okay when you're not, the systems that punish people for being human, and how we start advocating for change, even when it's uncomfortable. So let's get into it. Most workplaces are structured around productivity, not people. It's a hard truth, but we're all acutely familiar with it, right? You get 3 to 5 days of bereavement leave, maybe. You're expected to bounce back and you're encouraged to compartmentalize. And if you don't, you risk being seen as unstable, unreliable, or unprofessional. So let me ask you, how are you supposed to compartmentalize something that just tore your life apart? The reality is, our workplaces aren't just unprepared for grief, they actively create environments where grief becomes a liability. And that's not just harmful, it's dehumanizing. Story time with Heather. So I'm in the Seattle area, and most of you are probably aware, like, there's a lot of Amazon employees, Microsoft employees, Nintendo employees, Google employees, Boeing. Like, we've got a lot of the big corporation type businesses out here. I work with a number of clients who are still working, who are at the height of their career, who had just gotten a promotion or who made a job change. So working through COVID, many of us had the privilege of working from home, right? And I think that helped in some ways, in that, like, you didn't have to always be so on, so camera facing, so put together, and it allowed for a bit more grace while grieving. And that if you need to take a few breaks, or maybe your salary and you're only required to work 4 to 6 hours for the day, for that to count towards your work situation, whatever that is, I think in some ways that's made grief more accessible to do from home. And now, especially starting in January of this year, there's all of these RTO policies that are coming back into effect, or plans for people to return to the office. And that, I think, is making grief even trickier, because now we have to be so on. We have to be people facing all day, every day. And that's a different level of exhaustion, a different type of masking up on the way to work. I can't say the number of times that someone's gone back to work too soon and they end up so worried about not hitting those different productivity points, and they get put on a performance improvement plan, or they burn out, or they are struggling with chronic health stuff because their immune system's just so run down from masking their pain, and need to then go on FMLA because it's too much. So they take a leave so they actually have some time to breathe and grieve, because the pace, the expectations for productivity and performance when we're grieving are just unachievable. And some of the work is fulfilling, a lot of the work isn't. And so I think that also makes it hard. If we really love our job, that can in some ways be helpful, and some people really enjoy. Some people rely on pouring themselves into work to cope with their grief, whereas some of us it is a shock to our executive function systems. We're just not able to perform at the same level that we had pre-loss. And so then it's like we're grieving the track that we were on while also grieving our person. And it doubles down in complicating how the grief is showing up. So all that to say, our workplaces are not designed with a human focus in mind. They're designed for unrealistic expectations and pushing these corporate milestone check marks rather than keeping it people focused. I'm preaching to the choir, so I don't think I need to expand more on that. Just really wanting to normalize that the expectations that you're expected to be producing and performing at while you're grieving are unrealistic and unfair, and you're not crazy that you're not able to meet those or that you're breaking yourself trying to meet those. Your whole brain body system is going through so much right now while you're grieving, and work is just not set up to care for us in the way that we need when we're grieving. Let's talk about what happens when grievers do show up to work. You're not just doing your actual job. You're not just checking the emails or doing the tasks or making the spreadsheets or pivot tables or whatever. You are managing your emotions. You are managing other people's discomfort. You are managing expectations to be quote unquote back to normal. You're managing the mental math of what to say, what not to say, and how much is too much. Maybe we say 3-word responses to someone, and then we've been holding so much in all day that like that person who talks to us at the end of the day, it's like they get the fire hydrant of how we're really doing because we just can't hold it in anymore. It's too much. So all of that you're doing in addition to your actual job, that's a full-time job on top of your actual full-time job. And we call this emotional labor. And for grievers, it's everywhere. Smiling so your boss doesn't think you're spiraling, holding back tears during a Teams meeting, pretending you're focused while your brain is so foggy and fried, comforting your coworkers because they feel awkward about your loss. It's not your fault. So if you feel like work is asking more of you than you can give right now, it's not because you're failing. It's because you're carrying too much and the system wasn't built with your humanity in mind. So what's the ripple effect of all of this? What happens when workplaces don't build grief-informed cultures? Let's talk about it. Employees burn out. People leave jobs they once loved. Grievers internalize the idea that their pain is inconvenient. Organizations lose trust, loyalty, and long-term well-being. And the worst part, it's preventable, but only if we start telling the truth about how grief really shows up at work. So here's what I believe every workplace needs to hear. 1, grief doesn't have an expiration date. 2, performance will be impacted, and that doesn't make someone less valuable because their performance is impacted right now. 3, silence around grief doesn't create neutrality, it creates isolation. Avoiding talking about it, letting there just be silence is sometimes worse than saying something. It just makes them feel like my grief is too much. I'm awkward. I'm making everyone uncomfortable. And 4, flexibility isn't a perk. It's a necessity if you want people to stay. So let's think about those things. Workplace offices. What can we do about it? What do we do about it? I get asked this a lot. What can we actually do to make workplaces better for grievers? And here are a couple ideas where I think we can start. Whether you're the one grieving, whether you're in HR, or somewhere in between. 1, talk about grief like it's part of life, because it is. Grief is a universal lived experience, whether it's our pet, our parent, our child, our person. Grief is a universal lived experience. We need to build grief literacy into leadership trainings. Don't treat grief as this rare exception. It is universal. Number 2, offer options, not assumptions. Some people want to come back to work, some people don't. Ask the employees, what do you need from us right now? And what would support look like to you? Are you needing some half days? Are you needing more flexibility? Are you needing to work from home? Are you wanting to come into the office? Have conversations, offer options, not assumptions. Don't assume what people need. And does that take more time to do? Yes, it does. But does it make people feel more human-centered in their work? Yes, it does. Number 3, create long-term flexibility. Grief does not resolve in a week. 3 days is not anything. It's a blink. It doesn't even get through the sadmin that you have to. Offer staggered time off or remote options or adjusted workloads. Yeah, sure, you have things and deadlines you're trying to do as a company, but also like you're not going to retain people if they just keep burning out or if they have life happen and aren't able to meet those deadlines. Like it's just going to become a place people don't want to work. Number 4, normalize not being okay. Make space for sadness, for fog, for slower days. Let employees be human without fear of judgment or demotion. And if you're the one grieving at work, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You are allowed to take up space and you deserve support that actually matches the weight that you're carrying. So let's wrap up with some truths. Work doesn't pause for grief, but it should make room for it. You are not weak or unprofessional for struggling after loss. The problem is not you. It's the culture that pretends grief isn't real, and we can't change what we won't name. So let's name it loudly. So here's your call to action this week. If you are grieving and working, name one thing you need that could make your day more bearable. Ask for it. If you're leading a team or mentoring someone, ask them what grief support looks like, not just once, but over time. Sending that one initial text, let us know if there's anything you need, is not enough. You need to follow up. You need to offer options. Sometimes there's decision fatigue from all the admin that they have to do. Offering options can be really helpful. Do you want this or that? Would this feel better or would that feel better? Like giving them a little bit of guidance that like you are actually trying to offer support. You're not just trying to rush them through their grief. One of my favorite strategies for re-entering the workplace when you've been away from it due to grief reasons is figuring out strategies to help us mask up. And I'm not meaning mask up like COVID masks, but I'm more meaning like the mask we put on, the face, the role that we put on while we're at work. I love music, big music person. So I enjoy making a specific playlist that I listen to on the commute into work. Now, right now, I just work in my backyard in my little she shed. So my commute's not super long, but I will sometimes budget in 7 minutes before I see my first client in the morning where I'm going to listen to some specific songs in the kitchen and kind of dance it out and mask up so that I am put together for the day and for my client so that my grief doesn't spill into theirs and that I can be a container for them. So having a masking up playlist can be really helpful while you're transitioning and turning on for work. And then on the other end of the day, having the unwind playlist. This is where I'm going to put some of those sad songs or songs that make me think of my person that allow for emotional release because I'm able to take the mask off for the day and let my grief be as big as I need it to be for that night. So that can be a helpful strategy in bookmarking the masking up and the masking off. Yeah. So if this episode resonated, please share it with a manager, a coworker, a friend. Remember to be kind to yourselves today. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. That's it for today's episode of Grief is the New Normal. If this conversation resonated with you or you think it might benefit someone else, please share it. Sharing can open doors to healing, understanding, and normalizing these griefy conversations. If you're craving deeper insights or ongoing support, consider signing up for the Grief Gap newsletter. It's packed with resources, tips, and personal stories to help you navigate your grief journey. Visit the website www.griefisthenewnormal.com to subscribe. For those who prefer a more personal touch to their healing process, check out my grief journal, Authentically Unapologetic. It's designed to help you explore your grief on your own terms with prompts and exercises that encourage reflection and growth. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, and I look forward to our next meaningful conversation. Our soothing tunes are provided by the Datacorns. If you're interested in sharing your story, collaborating, or learning more, please email me at hello@griefisthenewnormal.com. You can also stream the episodes on YouTube for more engaging content. Until next time, keep exploring your grief with intention and support, remembering you don't have to do this alone.